So winter's a time where some of us put the bike away and don't look at it again for a while. Others, we will try and get on the bike when we can, maybe on weekends or on the trainer after work, things like that. But no matter what your preference or what your accessibility is for cycling through the winter is a great time for us to really improve ourselves and improve the way that we sit on our bike. Many of us have goals or wishes, we wish we could get a little more aero in our position, or we feel like we could or should get our saddle height up, or whatever the case is. And the winter is a great time to work towards those goals. So we're going to go over that today. So in this video, I'm going to focus mainly on off-the-bike things that you can do. So the first thing I'd encourage you to do is to set a goal. Pick something that you want to improve. Maybe it's just something as simple as being able to raise your saddle height a little bit. Maybe you know that your saddle is maybe on the lower end of normal, and you'd like to get the saddle height up a little bit, so maybe you can stretch your legs a little bit more. But we can't just jack our seat up anytime we like. We'd have to accommodate that with corrections to the body most of the time. And so it would be appropriate to work on your hip flexibility and your hamstring flexibility and maybe your trunk strength a little bit. I know a lot of people have a goal of trying to be more aerodynamic on the bike, so they're always trying to get their handlebar position lower. And this is fine, but we can't just lower it. Again, we want to work towards that, and the winter is a great time to do that. So for getting more air, you might work on your spinal flexibility. And again, you might really focus on that trunk strength, since those two things are sort of the main bottlenecks for most people for how low they're able to get their handlebars. You can pick anything you want, but the main idea is pick a goal and then work a little bit each day to try and chip away at that. So now that you've picked your own goal, I think there are two more things that I think pretty much every cyclist can work on. And it doesn't matter if you're 72 years old and just trying to get to 2,000 miles for the year, or if you're 22 and you're racing collegiately or professionally or whatever. I think almost everybody that comes through my door, no matter where they are on the spectrum, can benefit from working on these things. And the first has to do with working on your symmetry or your right-left balance. Most of us have one side or one leg that's stronger than the other. At least that's the way we refer to it. We think of one side being weaker. But what is most often the case is that leg is, if you test them individually, it may not be that much weaker in a gross sense. I think a lot of times it comes down to we have one side or one leg in this case that's less coordinated, or it exhibits poor balance. And these types of things are actually, we work on them in a much different way. In this scenario, it's less about working the muscle to exhaustion and really, nailing these muscles through the workout. And it's more about neuromuscular kind of re-education and retraining. Anytime you're working on, neuromuscular re-ed or coordination, things like that, we're not going to exhaustion. We're actually just doing short bouts of very controlled exercises to work on a very specific task, and also to hold ourselves to a very high standard as far as the form goes. So it kind of doesn't matter, what exercise or type of exercise you're working on, whether it's for, trunk strength or leg strength or whatever, but you need to really keep the focus of it very specific, and really, again, hold yourself to a high standard for the form that you're using through the exercise. Now, to work on right-left symmetry, this is, there's 1,000 ways to do this, but you might do something simple like you can always do one-leg squatting drills or one-leg balance work, step-ups. These are all great ways to unilaterally kind of focus on a weak side, or again, in this case, an uncoordinated side, and to get it firing a little bit quicker, a little bit more consistently. And in doing so, you'll get it firing more powerfully then in the long run. And specifically to being, on the bike, you could also work on one-leg drills on the bike, one-leg pedaling drills. Now, I mentioned this in the past a couple of times, and I will link to what I've done in the past up here, and I'll put some down below as well. But again, when you're doing one-leg pedaling drills, it should not be done through the lens of doing it for strength and power. They're not good for that, and the reason is that facilitates more of a pulling up on the backstroke, and that's not really an effective way to pedal. But I still think one-leg drills can be useful if we focus on, again, coordination. And the best way in pedaling to focus on coordination is with speed. And so I actually think these are best done not in a hard gear, but actually in the easiest gear you can do them in. So, and focusing on a higher or faster cadence that you're turning over. This will kind of help, this can help train the coordination of each leg. And so this leads me into the second portion, the second thing I think everybody should work on. And it's a really simple thing to do. A lot of us in the winter are going to be spending some time on an indoor trainer, and this is a really good time to work on some very high cadence efforts. Now, we're not doing this because riding at high cadence is always better, because it's not. Your most efficient cadence is going to be very individual, and it's going to be dependent on what your goals are too. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to pedal at 100 or 105 RPMs, because unfortunately I think that's gotten too much support. Because I think lower or even average cadences of like 85 have kind of gotten short shrift here a little bit. But this is not about that. Going back to the one-leg drills, working at very high cadences is a great way to work on coordination. And so on the trainer, doing short bouts of very high cadence. So if you're normally, your high cadences in the low 90s, you might try and do these short bouts at 100 or 105 RPMs. Or if you're higher than that, you might go up to 110 or 115 RPMs. Excessively fast RPMs. And the purpose, again, is to improve that coordination of the pedal stroke. It's what I call it improves your stroke fluency. And it has to do a lot with the ankle and the ankle position through the pedal stroke. Our ankle is kind of the great coordinator of the pedal stroke. And so if you work at higher and faster cadences, in order to keep a nice as smooth as possible a pedal stroke at these high rates, your ankle is really going to need to be on its game and really making very quick accommodations throughout the pedal stroke to keep things smooth. And what does smooth mean? Well, when you start going too fast and you're going beyond the point where you're really coordinated at, or that you're able to maintain, you'll notice really obvious things like your hips will start to bounce. You'll start to maybe get sort of a little bit clunky in your pedal stroke. And so that's why we want to keep these bouts short. It might be only anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds in duration. But again, really trying to, for that very short period, or as long as, in that short period as you can, trying to stay as smooth as possible and go as fast as possible with your cadence. This is another one where, in order to make it harder, you might actually go into an easier gear to spin faster. So there you go. There's two things that I think everybody pretty much can work on, or would benefit from working on. And then sort of the first one there is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. See if you can figure out something you want to improve on in your fit, and go for it. Because again, the wintertime is a great time to do that. So if you'd like to see some more examples of some of these exercises, there is going to be a link below to my website, and it'll say something like additional exercises or extra content, something like that. And it'll just be kind of a quick little primer video just for members that sign up, and it's free to sign up. But it'll show you just some of the basic exercises that I think I probably give out the most to people, that things that they should be working on. So that's all I have for this video. Thanks everyone, and I will see you next time.